I can read. My eyes are open. We want to see, man. We choose.
Exactly. Hey, every day when I'm in the office, not every day, but 5 days a week, I see this one, and I also see this one right here. I don't know if you can read it from here.
Oh yeah, stay broke.
Can you read it?
Stay broke. Yep.
Yeah, think like a millionaire, hustle like you broke.
All the way from Russia to New York, baby, to Arizona.
From New York to a sunny Arizona. But I tell you, the last couple of days have been a blessing, right? Yeah. Yesterday I woke up and it's like, man, it's beautiful, it's gorgeous. There's not that much sun outside. I was like, man, if this would be like this in July and August every single year, man, it would be the blessing. It would be like, but then it would be like, I don't know, like 20 million people living here. And it would be like traffic everywhere. It would be like another LA.
Yeah, everybody would want to visit Arizona and not leave it. Exactly.
All right, listen, hey man, I appreciate you coming along. I appreciate you dedicating 45 minutes to an hour of your time. Super excited to have you on board. Welcome to the Become Best Agent podcast. You're actually guest number 2. So I don't know. Last week's guest, I mean, she just hit it out of the park. I don't know if you had a chance to listen to her, watch her, Shireen Taville. Man, she's a killer. She was so inspirational on so many different levels. And I know, no pressure, but I know you're gonna bring it, man. You're gonna bring it today.
That's collaboration's what it's all about, man. And when we went to lunch, it's an honor to know you, and it's an honor to rub shoulders with your group. What you guys are doing, it's contribution at its finest, and that's what we need in today's crazy times. We need people like us helping other people reach one, teach one. Spread golden nuggets as we can. You never know when that one golden nugget is going to crack the code. The golden nugget may be different for you. The one that cracks your code cracks my code. That's why I'm always willing to come on here, because I only want to contribute, but I also want to learn. And like you showed me that other sign, when you're constantly thinking that you're broke, you're open-minded to learning new things. Once you think you know it all, man, you might as well hang up the cleats.
Yeah, I 110% piece of it, right? I mean, we got to live in a world of abundance, right? You know, there are no secrets out there, and there are no things that like you can learn, you can get information left and right now. Like, it's amazing, right? It's truly a blessing to be in this business, because you really can get this business off the ground very quickly, right? With the information that is out there, right? YouTube, podcasts, I mean, books, us sharing, right? All of those things combined, dude. I mean, like, you can get your business like from like 0 to like doing 20, 30, 40 deals like in 12 months. It's that doable right now, right? So let's start with you. Kind of, if you don't mind, tell our audience, tell our guests about yourself. Shawn Camacho.
Long story short, born and raised in Arizona, born and raised in Chandler, Arizona, which is on the east side. Grew up, my dad's a hay broker, so I'm white collar but blue collar, because my mom was an accountant. So my mom taught me how to do math and save. And then my dad taught me how to work hard, and what a handshake means, and taught me what grit means and all that stuff. And then I just started applying that. I played sports throughout my life, so I learned how important teamwork was, and transitioned into college. And where I had my real estate aha moment, I was in college in my economics class freshman year at ASU, and the instructor challenged us to think of something that we would be passionate about. And we happened to be learning about supply and demand. And I just started thinking about real estate. Like, people always need homes. People always need shelter, and why not be a part of that? So I started researching real estate, started studying, and then I bought my first house at 23. And the pride that I had of being 23, buying my first home, I love that feeling. And so I decided I wanted to share that with other people. And I'm 41 now. And so, if I was scared at the time, and I used my experience with my buyers, especially first time homeowners, like that was probably the scariest decision, but the best decision I ever made on that first house. When I was 23, I was going to ASU, working a full-time job, and I actually sold my car for my down payment to get that house.
Okay.
Um,
So you sold your car. So I mean, how are you how are you getting around it? I mean, what are you doing?
and so I sold the car, and it was a used car, and I had it paid off. I sold it for like $7,000.
Yeah,
I used that for my down payment.
yeah.
I closed on the house, and then like 2 days later, I went and got a car.
Oh, okay,
So
got it.
I was only out of a car for like 6 days.
All right. So how long you been in a real estate business? How long you been selling real estate?
So I got my license in 2003. If I remember right, 2003. The first year I tried to work a job and do resale full time, part time, however you want to explain that. It was challenging because you're working a full time job, you're trying to show houses and stuff, and like you said in the beginning, like right now is the best time to be a real estate agent. The only three tools I had back then were open houses, billboards, and newspapers,
Yeah.
and standing on the corner. I mean, now we have agents have so many tools with social media, marketing, all kinds of stuff. So I tried it for about a year, and I was actually holding an open house, and a VP of sales walked in for a home builder, and I impressed him. And he recruited me, and he's like, "You need to come do new home sales. You would crush it. You're up front. You have great communication skills. You know what customer service is." And so I did. I made the transition to new home sales, and did that for about 5 years. Loved it. Great experience. Got so much knowledge about construction, how houses are built, the consumer's buying process from A to Z, helping people come up with a plan. And then that was like '04 to like '08, and that's when the market started crashing. So the builder actually went out of business, and so that was like 2010. And that's when I said, you know what? I got to take a leap of faith, and if I'm gonna go back to resale, this is my chance. This is my chance to go all in. And so that was about 2011, and I went all in. That first year, I committed to doing open houses. I know open houses are taught by a lot of people, and it's the quickest to shaking hands, and it's the quickest to that first deal with time investment versus money investment.
Yeah.
I've learned is you have to invest time at the beginning, and then it's like a pendulum, and it eventually it switches to where you have money, and then the money helps you gain your time back. So that first year, I did open houses 2 years straight. The only day I took off was Christmas. I did open houses Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, 50 for all 52 weeks for 2 years straight. That first year, I think I did 8 deals, and then the second year, I think I did like 16, and then I kept doubling.
Yeah. So I mean, man, there's so much to unpack, dude. Like when you were working for a home builder, right? I mean, essentially, it was almost kind of like having a 9 to 5 job, right? There was a stability attached to it, right?
Correct. The lead stability.
Come to you, right? So there's a stability, right? So when your home builder went out of business, right? 2009, you said 2010, right? And you were thinking about transitioning back in traditional sales, right? With traditional sales, there's instability, right? I mean, now you're basically got to find those leads, right? You got to find those clients, right? And again, 2009, 2010 is still we're still dealing with a great recession, right? We're still talking about high number of foreclosures, short sales, right? Sellers losing equity left and right, right? So how are you able to kind of just transition to that, business versus are saying kind of what, maybe I need to find like a stable job. Like, because I know people that were real estate agents 2003, 2004, 2005, and they're making a killing. And then when, things got tough, I mean, they all left industry. They all left industry because, again, they wanted that stability. And then also they were so kind of discouraged and disappointed with the business, with the market and everything that was going on. They're like, we just need to change the scenery. So how were you able to actually continue and actually take a leap of faith, like you said, and continue actually with the real estate sales, going into something essentially new, because you got used to being in new home sales, right? Without really worried about, like, man, am I going to be able to survive financially?
Yeah, and I was, normal like anybody else. Of course, you have that fear, and at some point, you have to go for it, because if, like, what I've learned, if you don't, I would rather go for something and fail at it than not go at it. And what, I challenge myself on a daily basis, and I also challenge other people that I talk to. Like, think of the worst case scenario if you do fail. Like what's the worst case scenario? You do have to go get that job, or you do have to sell your home, or what's that look like? And so that's what I do. Is I take the risk because I want to know I at least tried, because then you don't want to think would have, should have, could have. So I at least tried in that moment. And if everybody's situation is different, that's why I loved open houses, is because Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you can work on your sphere. You can send out thank you cards. You can text message people, call people. You can do network meetings. But then you have a plan. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you're doing open houses.
Yeah.
And I knew if I stayed committed to open houses, because I learned from the model home sales, people are going to come to the door. And that's the fastest to the first handshake. Yeah. And so I committed to doing the open house strategy. And I think I landed my first buyer like in 30 days. So if you could land your first buyer in 30 days, you get them under contract. These days, the average commission is $8,000, $7,000-8,000 on a purchase. That's just the way my brain thinks. Yeah. I'm willing to sacrifice short term for the long-term gain. I think most people's challenge is they're so focused on the short term, and it creates fear, and so they don't do anything. But sometimes you got to take action with the faith and confidence that it's going to pay off. And if it doesn't pay off, what's the worst case scenario? You go back and get a job. Or if your financial situation is you do need to work a part-time job, like I said, work part-time a couple days a week. But eventually you're going to want to taper off that, and you need to gain that momentum, so eventually you can make that leap.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, you got to take chances, right? We call them in our business measured risks, right? But life is the way I look at life is it's a deck of cards, right? And you're going to have cards, that are presented to you, right? But they're going to be presented to you, and it's going to be it's going to be you who are going to decide how to play that card, right? So life is always going to be testing you, right? There's always going to be something coming your way, right? And it's up to us to really figure out how to play that, right? And how to play life. And sometimes it's just not going to go our way, and that's the reality of it, right? And sometimes you got to take a step back, and that's the reality of it, right? Like I posted it this morning on the group page on the Become Best Agents, like, hey, any business takes longer than you anticipated, that you expected, and takes more money or more expensive than you anticipated, right? It takes time. It takes time. It takes time to become profitable, right? It takes time to hire the right people and have the right people, right? It takes time to roll out the systems and the lead models that will actually work for you. Or you got to be patient. And there are times they're not going to work for you. Right?
And you got to have that belief that it's going to eventually pay off, and that's what keeps you going.
You got to have a belief in you, right? You got to have a belief in your vision, right? And you got to, enjoy. And I'm kind of using that word loosely, if you will, but you got to enjoy the journey, right? And the cool thing about journey is the fact that, it's like it's not, with journey, you don't see what's going to happen next, right? It's going to come to you, but you got to enjoy that piece, right? And that's what something that, like, going back to the open houses, right? You said your first buyer was like 30 days later, right? And I'm sure you held multiple open houses, and I'm sure your open houses, not all of them were successful. Not every time, you had a bunch of people inside of it, right? How were you able to kind of navigate through those open houses, through those days where you would spend 6, 7, 8 hours, right, in that open house and get zero in visitors or get zero in leads?
Just knowing, like doing the math, like knowing it's a law of averages, or it's a numbers game. You're gonna get a buyer at some point, whether it's 20 days or 40 days. And then when I'm having like a bad day where I'm like, man, nobody came through the open house, and we all have those days where you're like, man, was I even productive today? I just do the math, and I'm like, okay, I held this house open 30 times, and it got me a $9,000 check. $9,000 divided by 30 is what, 300 bucks a day. That's a pretty good return in my opinion, because all I invested was my time. I didn't have to invest $9,000 to make $9,000.
Right.
So that's what keeps me kind of showing up. Is that's one little trick I do, is I do the math and I work it backwards, and I'm like, oh, not bad. I held this house open for 30 days. I made 300 bucks a day. That's a pretty good return.
Yeah.
And then I maximize my time in those days when it was slow, where I only had one nosy neighbor come through the open house. Like I said a few minutes ago, I was writing thank you cards. I was texting my brothers, my family, my friends. Hey, I'm in real estate. Is there anything I can do to help you? So I use those hours as kind of, office hours, kind of like I used to do at the model home sales. People weren't walking through the door all the time. I was checking up on people's houses. Were they at drywall? Were they at cabinets? Then I would email the people saying, hey, hope you're still excited. So I was using those down hours in my open house to also, market Shawn, and get attention and raise my hand and say, hey, people, I'm in real estate. I love real estate. I bought my first house at 23. I know what it can do for your family. I want to help you.
Yeah. I mean, interesting. Your story is kind of, correlates to what Shireen, shared with us last week. I mean, she pretty much kind of started, her first, source of lead or business, if you will, were open houses, right? So she didn't have a big sphere. She didn't have a big network of people, and that's exactly what she did. I mean, she would hold open houses 2 to 3 times a week. And what she would do is the day before, she would actually knock on the neighbors' doors and just kind of introduce herself, invite them to the open house, and then ask them, hey, do you have any plans of selling your home, right? And there are times that she had a great success, but there was one instance where somebody actually threw or sprayed the bottle of Diet Coke or a can of Diet Coke in her face. Seriously, true story. That's what he said. And I mean, obviously, it's hard. Like, I don't know, me, I probably would jump in my car and say, "Fuck this," I mean,
yeah,
let's deal with this stuff, right? And probably 99% of other people would do the same exact thing. But it really kind of actually ignited her and motivated her to just kind of move forward. And the next door, I think, or the following door that she knocked, and she actually was able to get a listing, right? And it's just that perseverance, that grit, right? That really ability not to give up, right? And I think we, as humans, and I talk to my agents all the time, it's like, man, you are so close to the finish line that you don't realize, and you just give up. You just give up, right? We hold open houses and we do 1 or 2 open houses and nothing happens. You don't get traffic, or the people show up and they got agents, or the people show up, they're not interested, or the looky-loo neighbors come in and critique the house, and you feel like, you know what, the open houses don't work, right? And you give up after 2 or 3 open houses. You give up, or you do them, but you do them inconsistently with the notion that they're not going to work in the first place, right? You have that mindset. So
yeah,
for me,
you already have that prediction. Yeah,
prediction.
you already have that prediction.
It's not going to work. Like, I'm a huge proponent, I'm a huge believer in open houses. Right now, especially right now, you got buyers that are very hungry. You got the listings that are going up, right? I mean, you're definitely seeing more listings that we had a month ago, 2 months ago, 3 months ago, right? They're sitting in a market a little bit longer than they did before, right? This is an opportunity right now for the agent, right? If he or she wants to get in front of buyers and sellers, now buyers and sellers, to do 2, 3, 4, 5 open houses a week. I mean, like you said, it doesn't cost you any money, okay? You don't really have to do that much marketing aside of do some social media videos and then putting out signs. You can borrow signs if you want to. My first open house, I remember it was not my listing. They were not even my signs, man. They were not my signs. I borrowed 5 signs from the listing agent, and he was kind enough to say, yeah, not a problem. Just make sure you return them. I said, yeah, absolutely. And my first open house, Shawn, was in a gated community of Anthem Country Club, like Fort Knox. But guess what? I got a seller out of it / buyer. That seller and buyer referred me more business. And in the last 8 years, I probably closed like 10 or 11 transactions from them or connected to them. Over $150,000 in gross commission income.
And that's compound interest that you have to train yourself to think about as an agent or as an entrepreneur. You got to understand you're making decisions and doing actions that is in the long run going to create compound interest. If you're a new agent right now, like the whole 10 doors to the left, 10 doors to the right, that's common sense. That's been around for a long time. Even I'm guilty of it. I could probably sell another 20 homes if I did that, but I'm guilty of it just because I'm focusing on other strategies. But you don't even need a listing or like you said, it doesn't have to be your listing. What I would do, I would pick the 5 hot listings or 5 areas that you like, and ask that listing agent, hey, do you mind if I go market your listing? And I would knock 10 doors to the right or whatever around the house, and just say, hey, I don't know if you noticed, but our team over here, Best Homes, whatever, we just sold this house. Are you thinking about selling? And sometimes you're not going to get instant gratification, but that homeowner may close the door and be like, you know what, that guy was pretty cool. And then guess what? 6 hours later, Aunt Sally calls that neighbor and says, hey, I'm thinking about selling my home and moving to Arizona. And you're top of mind for that neighbor. And you're like, you know what? You should call this guy Shawn. And the next thing you know, your phone rings and it's Aunt Sally from North Carolina and says, I want to buy a house from Arizona. And you're like, oh my goodness. Yeah. That's compound interest right there. And that's the part of real estate is we don't always get instant gratification. Real estate is all about momentum. You're doing a lot of activities, to get traction, to get momentum. But yeah, I would knock listings. I would do open houses if you don't have money, or if you are still working a full-time job. Commit to Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You're doing those 2 strategies, and I can guarantee you, if you did that for 30 days, there's low probability, low percentage that you should not be able to get a buyer or listing out of it. If you commit to those 30 days.
But even if you don't get that buyer, if you don't get that listing, all right, imagine how far you came in the last 30 days.
You as a person, correct. You as an agent.
The fact that you're able to commit to it, the fact that you're able to take action, the fact that you were able to constantly work and evolve your skill sets, right? The fact that you're able to have a conversation with these people, and hopefully you have a database, right, of these individuals that you can cultivate and nurture and follow up with, right? Imagine how much you're going to be able to be better in the next 30 days, right? And I tell
you're going to learn so much about yourself.
Exactly. And I think that like it's something that like if you're a brand new agent, I believe, and if you have the time, all right, initially you have to chase business. It's the reality.
Yep.
You have to chase business. You have to prepare to chase business, right? And that means, like you said, trade time for money. And that means open houses. That means knocking on doors. That means reaching out to your sphere. That means meeting with the people in your network, right? Doing all of those things, trying to stabilize your business, get your business off the ground, build that pipeline. So eventually, like in your situation, I bet you're not doing 2 to 3 open houses a week right now.
That's where your business will evolve. My business has evolved. I haven't done an open house probably in 4 years.
Right. So talk to me about the next step. So you started the business 2010, 2011. Your primary source of business was open houses. How were you able to then evolve and graduate to the next level?
Kind of like what you said, it's about momentum. So I got that, you get that customer, and what you got to remember is you have that customer for about 30 to 60 days, and you want to make the most impactful impression on this person so that they become your fan. You want to, I used to tell myself every customer is worth 3 customers. I would brand that on my brain. So I would just tell myself, okay, you're doing a good job with this customer, but this customer knows 3 people that are going to buy a house in the next 90 days. Wow. Try to give them the best experience, customer service experience. I call it the VIP. Give them a VIP experience, and you can choose how you want that to look, but just give them a great experience so that they go and say, hey, man, Johnny, you're thinking about buying a house. You need to talk to my guy Alan. You need to talk to my friend Sally. You need to talk to my boy Shawn. This guy is he's the man. He's real deal. He's not a salesperson. He's going to help you make the best decision possible. So that's a mindset. So I tell myself every customer is worth 3 customers, so that I can start generating referrals from those people. And then to answer your question, so I kept doing those open houses, and then once I got to like 24, 30 transactions, that's when I, as an entrepreneur, as an agent, I wanted to transition from time, the time money leverage. And that's when I was studying other great agents like yourself and other people. And I noticed the trend was the next best decision. Two that I studied was getting a transaction coordinator, so that would help me leverage my time and let me do what's best, which is being in front of the customer, shaking hands, closing homes, getting listings, marketing myself. So I hired a transaction coordinator, which helped me double my time basically. And then I made a commitment to start my farm. So, because that's the trend I saw, is most successful teams, they had 3 funnels. They had the open house funnel, they had the farm funnel, and then they had their sphere funnel. Those probably are, and then you just invest in those 3 funnels. So I had the open house down. I started to get referrals, and so then I committed as a business owner to invest in a farming funnel. And so 1 month I had like a killer month where I made like 40 grand. And instead of spending that on personal money or personal items, I committed to setting aside $30,000, and I committed to doing my farm for that next year, 12 months. And so that was my next funnel. And so if you're doing the math, I was, what started happening is I was getting like 15 from my open house funnel. I was getting 15 from repeat referral business. And then I was getting like 10 to 15 from my farm.
Okay. Were there months or weeks where you're not getting anything out of your farm?
Yes.
Okay.
The thing with a farm is you have to go into it as you're branding yourself. It's kind of like billboard advertising. It's it's kind of like you got to have the Navy, Air Force, and Marines. It's just part of your marketing attack. And it's you got to use it because they see you on Facebook, but then they get the flyer in the mail, and then they go to CVS to pick up their prescription, and they see you in CVS.
Okay.
I have advertising in like several CVS stores, so it's kind of they're like, man, this guy's everywhere. This guy's shaking the tree everywhere. And we all know people are branded by by the TV, by marketing, by commercials, and you want to be in the top 5 when they go to think to refer somebody, or when they go to think to sell their house. You just want to be in the top 3 to 5, and you want to place at the table so that you can go in there with your skills and say, hey, this is why you should use me. And if they don't use you, at least you had a shot. You had a chance at taking a bat.
Yeah. You have a chance to sit at the table, right, and get a seat at the table. I mean that's important, I believe. And with farming, like there are different ways of farming, right? So like, how do you farm? I mean, obviously you mentioned about having, kind of mini billboards in the CVS stores. I'm assuming you're sending out postcards, right? I mean, kind of walk us through your process of farming, and by the way, how much business are you're generating from your farm every single month?
So I'm all about leveraging my time and streamlining my business. And so instead of me spending months on how to execute a farm, I pay a company and they send out I think it's like 30,000 flyers in the area that I love. I'm in the East Valley, so Chandler and Gilbert, those are kind of like where I love to farm. So they do it once a month, and I just write the check. And then when it comes to the first year, I only got a few deals out of it. But back to what I was going to say is it's not a high volume of lead, but every month I get about 5 phone calls. And what I like about it is those 5 phone calls, those people are making a decision in the next 30 to 90 days. They're not window shoppers. So yes, I didn't get a lot of phone calls, but the 5 phone calls that I got, they're serious buyers or sellers. So the first year I didn't get a lot, but I would say I average about at least 1 a month from my farm.
Okay, so let's kind of expand on that. So like 30,000 flyers a month. How many homes are we talking about? Is it
30,000 doors? Yeah.
30,000 doors. So you're using a company that does it for you. Are they mailing it or they're delivering door to door?
They're mailing it, and it's actually a company that does one of those home magazines, like with all the kitchen remodels and garage cabinet, and they stick my flyer in the magazine.
Okay.
And so it goes that their magazine goes out to like 30,000 doors, but my flyer is inside the magazine.
If you don't mind me asking you, or don't mind sharing it, I mean, how much are you paying per flyer, and also the name of the company?
I think it comes out to like 56 cents per door, and I pay them about $4 to $5 grand.
Okay. So 56 cents per door, right? Okay. All right. Gotcha. All right. And so you pay about $5,000 a month for the farm.
Correct. And I average about one a month from that. One
listing a month.
Correct. And then I use that listing to create momentum.
Okay. All right. So, and what is the average price of your listing then?
400 to 600.
Okay. So what is the average commission?
12 grand.
12,000. So you spend 5,000 to make 12,000.
Mm-hmm.
And how many of those sellers are also looking to buy?
I would say 50%.
Okay. So that's another 6,000.
Uh-huh.
Right? Somewhere there, I'm assuming. So from each sale, you're grossing about $18,000.
That's a pretty good average.
Okay. All All right. I mean, that's a pretty good return on investment, right?
Well, and that's the thing is I started thinking differently because I'm, the normal reaction is, man, $5,000 a month, that's a big commitment.
Yeah.
But you have to think differently. And it's like what you just said, that's a pretty good return. Even if it's, let's say the average is 12 grand, you're spending $5,000 to make 12 grand. And it's not always about ROI. Like what I've learned is it's about brand. You're still branding yourself, and you're still taking up territory when you're marketing yourself.
Yeah. I mean, I think we talked about this before, and I talked about this to my agents as well. It's like, hey, professionals attract, amateurs chase, right? So what you're doing is you're building and creating.
I want business to come to me,
right? So they're the ones that are calling you. They're the ones that are reaching out to you, right? They're the ones who are raising their hand and saying, hey, man, Shawn, I've been getting your stuff for the last 4, 5, 6, 7 months, right? We're thinking of selling our house. Can you swing by and take a look at it, right? And we want to list it.
Exactly.
Right? They're the ones who are reaching out to you. They're the ones that want to be part of your ecosystem. They want to do business with you versus you are constantly going out there and chasing for that business.
And you have that choice as an agent or entrepreneur. What type of business do you want to have? And that's the choice I made. Is I wanted a inbound business or a attraction business. As I started tapering off on open houses, because that's chasing, but I used that momentum so that I could create an attractive marketing business where, like what you said, people are calling me and they're raising their hand, reaching out to me. So it's up to you. You have the choice if you want to do a chasing business or attraction business. I choose attraction. You could be very successful at a chasing business. Open houses. A lot of people do circle prospecting. To me, that's considered chasing. And you just have to. Where I see a lot of agents get stuck in their tracks is they have all these ideas and they just don't commit to 2 or 3. Yeah. You just have to commit to 2 or 3, and you just have to master them and go crazy and go all in on those 2 or 3. And I'm telling you, you'll build momentum.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be 2 or 3. It can be just 1, right? Like for me, when I got into this business back in 2013, right, my sphere essentially was shot. I mean, most of them got hurt during the Great Recession. Their credit was not good. They were not able to buy. The sellers did not have enough equity, right? So they didn't want to sell, or they couldn't sell, right? And me, I also had limited beliefs in terms of my sphere goes. I felt like as a brand new agent, I'm not going to be able to really kind of deliver or bring enough value, right? So what I did is I started chasing business. And we, in the business, especially in the early stages of it, right? If you're a newer agent or trying to get your business off the ground, you have to chase business. That's got to be part of your business routine, right? That's got to be part of your model to an extent, right? So for me, chasing business was, all right, I want to get listings. How do I get listings? Oh, there are about 60, 70 expires every single month. Let me call expired listings, right? Let me call cancel listings. Oh, by the way, there is also for sale by owners. So it was one lead source, which is the outbound expired / cancel / for sale by owners, that really helped me to get my business off the ground, right? The second one was open houses. But open houses, it almost kind of came in like inadvertently by accident, because one of the first listings I got, it was a $100,000 listing right off 87th Avenue in Camelback. And the buyer's agent rolled up in a really fancy car, and the guy's like probably in his 50s. And I started asking him like, hey man, how do you get business? And he says, yeah, I do like 4 or 5 open houses a week. And it's like, I sell like 40 homes a year from open houses. So I was like, shit, I got to do open houses. So the next thing that I'm doing is I'm calling the listing agent, the house across the street where I used to rent, and I got my listing, or I got my open house. Again, not my listing, not my signs, right? So like, we got to trade time. We got to initially chase business, but at the same time, we got to also be mindful enough that we want to be also building our own brand and eventually attract clients into our ecosystem, right? And And for you, like it's a huge return on the investment, but at the same time, what you're building is you're building that brand. Because those 5 people that reached out to you, okay, even though one of them are the ones who's going to use you, but the 4 other ones are still in your database. 4 other ones are still getting your information. The 4 other ones, you're still following up and nurturing and developing that rapport with them. So maybe 6 months down the line or a year down the line, they're going to reach out to you, or they may possibly refer somebody else who will reach out to you and use your services.
Correct. You never know when a referral is going to come down the pipe. You never know. I have, and that's why it's important to also brand yourself. I have a buddy of mine. He's never done business with me, but he's referred like 7 people to me because he loves what I stand for. He knows I get the job done. He knows I'm a professional and I master my craft, and he's probably referred like 6 or 7 buyers to me.
So with farming, right? So, once a month they get a postcard, they get a flyer in a magazine, okay? But like in addition to that, right? You mentioned about doing the CBS ads, like billboards. How much are you paying for those, right? And then what else are you doing to really kind of get the most out of your farm, like digital marketing, social media marketing, anything like that?
Yeah, so it all ties together. So you got the CBS farming, you got the postcard farming in the magazine. I'm also doing Facebook ads. When I get a listing video, I'm doing a sponsored ad in the area. I'm also doing YouTube videos. So I mean, they're seeing me everywhere, man. I mean, it's the, like I said, it's the Marines, Navy, Air Force. Like you got to have all 3 levels, because we live. Even though it's the best time to be a real estate agent, it's the most noisiest time to be a real estate agent.
Yeah.
If you kind of know what I mean. So we have the most tools possible, but there's so much drama and noise and distractions going on in the world. That's why you have to hit them. You got to hit them from all different corners, because you never know which corner is going to stop them in their tracks. So my marketing budget, total. I just did my taxes like a month ago. I probably spend $100,000 a year on marketing, like just total.
And what was your GCI last year?
I was like 486, something like that.
Close to 500.
Close to 500.
500. So you made about $400,000 and $100,000 marketing investment.
So you got to think, yeah, and that's the thing is, 7 years ago, I would have never thought that way.
Yeah.
But as an entrepreneur, and as I've grown as a person, as a businessman, and as an individual, you realize you have to have a different relationship with money. You have to think differently, and you got to be willing to risk it all. And 7 years ago, I would probably pass out if you told me I invested $100,000. Seriously, because we all have that broke poor mindset sometimes. I
like to say, our biggest competition is not other agents, man. It's us, and more importantly, our limiting beliefs.
100%, man. And I meet with people all the time, and they're like, Shawn, what's the magic trick or magic pill? And it 90% of it is mindset. And for me, is it's my mindset, and it's IDGAF. I don't. I'm gonna do it my way. I'm gonna execute. Mindset and execute. That's the big, not just for real estate agents or for us in our industry. I see that in so many industries. People, you gotta learn how to execute. And if you fail, man. But I'd rather fail executing, man.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk about your mindset. Like you're like with you, man, and I got to know you quite a bit. You're so positive, right? But at the same time, you know, you're not living in a la la land, right? There's some people that are like positive and they're all like peaches and cream and things are freaking great, but in reality, they're like, shit, what do I do, right? It's like you're positive, you're a realist, right? You know, definitely like humility, you're so humble, right? But at the same time, you know, you're
Confident.
yeah, I mean, you're confident, right? You're humble, you're confident. Like so how do you get your mindset right? Because like look, to make $500,000 a year, it's not easy.
Mm-mm.
It's not easy. Dealing with 80, 90, 100 transactions, clients, different personalities, different situations, right? It's not easy. Even if, let's say, you do have a transaction coordinator or an assistant, right? You're still in the trenches. You're still a point of contact, right? So it's easy to get sidetracked. It's easy to have that negative mindset. It's easy to go into the spin or a funk, if you will, where like, man, for days and days and days, you're like, you know what? I'm done with this thing, right? So how do you master that positive mindset that help you to go like from selling 8 homes your first year, and I know you're probably going to sell close to 100 homes this year, right? How are you able to do this on a regular basis?
I mean, it's so true. Like we all have those two voices, and to me, I've learned it's a choice. Like I have those negative voices, I have those fear voices, um, and I think what's made me successful with that challenge is on a daily basis, I'm trying to master those voices. And when I say voices, it's the whole, bad wolf, good wolf story out there. Everybody has the good wolf and the bad wolf. It's the one you feed the most. And um, I have self-awareness. When 6 years ago, I would dwell on things, but because I invested time in myself and my mindset, now at times, like I have my days where stuff blows up, transactions blow up. I have a customer that I just, I'm like, are you kidding me? Like they're from outer space. Where I've gained self-awareness is I only allow it to like bother me for a few hours because I take ownership that if I let it dwell on for 3 days, one, I'm not being respectful to myself, but I'm not being respectful to my business. I'm not being respectful to my community. I'm not being respectful to my clients. And so you really have to take ownership. And I learned this through self-improvement. That's the other thing. Us as people and as in humans and as agents, like we invest in so many things, but we don't invest in ourselves. I spend 4 hours a day with myself. I spend about 4 hours a day with myself. That's on the treadmill, that's reading books, that's watching YouTube. Like you are your best asset. And that's where like I think my mindset changed about 6, 7 years is like that's where I gained even more positivity, confidence, the swagger. Like I don't care if I fail. If I fail, at least I was on the court. At least I was on the field. And you can laugh at me, but I'm on the field. You're in the bleachers. I don't, IDGAF. I don't care.
Yeah.
And that's what gave me that swagger. And it's because I invested in myself. And it's a choice. It's a choice because I have negative thoughts. I have limited beliefs. You got to challenge yourself to think bigger. Like I said, I never would have thought I would have made that amount of money. But once I started thinking that it was possible, you start making different decisions. I don't do anything unless it makes me time, money, or gives me freedom. That's another thing. So I know those negative voices they don't help me in any of those categories. When I make decisions, if it doesn't make me time, money, or freedom, I don't do it. And that's called accountability and ownership. I'm a big believer that accountability and self-ownership, at the end of the day, I had a mentor one time told me, he's like, at the end of the day, Shawn, you have to take ownership that you are in control of 100% of your results. Like, yes, there's always other people involved, and yes, there's always circumstances involved, but when you can get to the point and you can say, every result and every aspect of my life is my fault or my responsibility, you'll start thinking differently, you'll start making different decisions, you'll start taking action.
Right.
Like you said, we are our worst enemy. The only reason why you don't succeed is yourself. It's not because of all the other 500 variables. Like you said, we're all dealt a deck of cards. We're all dealt a deck of cards. We all have our bullshit. We all have our bullshit. I mean, and it comes down to my mindset, and I just choose. I just choose, man. I don't know how else to. I don't know how to articulate it.
You have a highest form of integrity with yourself, right? I posted a couple of days ago, like, to be successful, you have to have the high level of integrity with yourself. Like, you have to be honest with yourself. You got to look at the mirror, right? Instead of blaming someone else, instead of saying, oh, shit doesn't work, right? You got to be very honest with yourself, right? And you got to basically be honest in terms of what's working for you and what's not, right? You cannot be delusional. You cannot be delusional in the business in general, because that's a recipe for destruction. That's a recipe for like for a disaster. Like, you can be delusional with your friends, you can be delusional even with your family, you can say things, they're gonna believe you, or they know this and that, whatever, right? Well, you should not be, but I'm just saying. But in business, dude, I mean, if you're delusional in business, especially the business that actually has employees and has agents, right? Like, dude, I mean, that's a recipe for a disaster.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be real with yourself. And you have to have that integrity with yourself. That's the first thing. It starts with you.
100%. And I think that's the big thing, is like, I hold myself accountable, and it's like, some people need accountability partners. I don't know if I learned it through sports. I had some really good coaches throughout football and sports that really taught me how to set goals and hold myself accountable. But I think that it would come down to that. I hold myself accountable. At the end of the day, like you said, you got to be true to yourself. And at the end of the day, I'm like, did I contribute enough today? Yes, this happened over here, but what did I contribute, or what did I not contribute? And I take ownership of that situation. And you know, it's like the whole Michael Jordan thing, you know, his documentary. He's like, look at this. That's just how I played, man. You don't have to play the way I played, but there's a price to pay to win. Mm-hmm. And some people are willing to pay the price, and some people aren't. And that's why you have the 5% and you have the 95%. And then, like I said, it comes down to a choice.
Absolutely.
Where do you want to be on the field?
Okay. Yeah. I mean, you're gonna have to choose, you know, whether you want to have a hardships of mediocrity or a hardship of really becoming the best, right? Both of them are hardships. Both of them, mediocrity is a hardship. You know, how many people are there, for example, you know, like, if they're mediocre, how many of them actually feel happy about it? Like, deep down inside, they're not feeling happy, you know, and they're kind of living in a quiet misery, you know, and I'd rather have a hardship of becoming the best, right? Versus being mediocre for the rest of my life.
100%, and that's a choice, and
choice. It's a choice.
It's like the whole thing, turn a tragedy into a triumph. You know, there's so many cliches, and but you at the end of the day, you know, if you're really, you know, holding yourself accountable, or like, you know, the level of integrity that you have with yourself. And I don't know if I learned it from my childhood or if it was sports. I just have this natural belief that there's always a solution. Like, I think I've conditioned my brain to always be solution based versus, I guess,
excuse me.
Exactly. I don't know if that's a condition I've just learned over the years, and I've taught myself that, but I'm like, whenever I get a challenge, I'm like, okay, I'm always looking for I'm always looking for a solution or a better way to do things or a win-win solution if it's a transaction. Um, there, like, that's just the way I program my brain, and it's choice at the end of the day.
Right. So, so like in the last 8 or 9 years, or 10 years that you're selling real estate, right? And man, you again went from single digits in transactions to doing close to 100 deals by yourself. Again, you don't have a team, right? You don't have like an army of agents, right? So during that time, even right now, do you have mentors? Do you have coaches? Do you have people in your life that are, obviously are supporting you, are guiding you, coaching you, but also hold you accountable?
So that's what I was going to elaborate earlier. Is like, so many people, they don't invest in themselves. So like, I've been to like self-improvement seminars where one, I was on a ranch for 7 days, and they help you overcome your limiting beliefs. I've probably invested $100,000 into myself over the last 10 years. And that's the thing, is people will invest money in like cars and watches and boats and jet skis, but they won't invest in themselves when they're the best asset ever. So I've been to some seminar stuff that helped me with childhood issues, fears, limited beliefs. So that was about 10 years ago, and then on a annually basis, I'm always rubbing shoulders with leaders and mentors like you, Alan. I'm always sponging knowledge from great people like yourself. I don't really have a like a coach that I check in or do monthly or weekly coachings with. I know everybody knows about him, but Grant Cardone, I got on that guy like 6 years ago. Read his Be Obsessed, Be Average book, 10x. I read a lot of books. Like I said, I spend about 4 hours of my day on myself, and usually 3 hours of that is self-improvement, whether it be listening to a YouTube from Grant Cardone or listening to a audio book. The most recent book that I Tim Grover, Relentless, is a great book. Yeah, so I don't have an individual coach, but I do spend about 4 hours a day on Shawn, self-improvement, basically.
That's awesome, dude. So if, let's say, for example, you're mentoring an agent, right? Let's say it's a brand new agent, or maybe some experienced agents that are struggling in their business right now, right? I mean, what would you say to them? What's one or two things that they got to do every single day to get their business off the ground?
And at least 2 or 3 hours, you need to be working on yourself, whether that's learning new skills, communication skills, your limited beliefs. So you need to be working on that. 2 or 3 hours, pick your strategy, but you need to be shaking hands, talking to people, texting people. And then the other few hours of your day, you need to be coming up with marketing strategies. You need to start being creative and thinking of ways how you can get yourself in front of other people. And then a couple more hours of your day, you need to start challenging yourself to think like a business owner versus just an agent. And so, I mean, that's how my days kind of chopped up, prospecting, self-improvement, marketing, and then how can I become a better business owner? Is it tweaking my accounting? Is it tweaking how I do my taxes? Is it tweaking a software? So
What if that agent is not a full-time agent, right? And let's say they have a job, maybe they have a part-time job or they have a full-time job, but they want to transition becoming a full-time agent, right? And they may have a couple of hours in a day, right? What would you tell them to do and how they can get their business off the ground?
I would do the open houses. So find a, like, if you're part of Alan's group or team, ask Alan or his listing agents, hey, can I hold open houses? Can I circle prospect those listings? You should those 3 hours you have of a day, then you should just focus on prospecting.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with you 110%. Like, you don't need to spend 8 or 9 hours a day like working in this business. Like, you don't. Like, you can really move the needle forward. You can actually get a few deals in escrow per month if you just dedicate 2 to 3 hours being laser focused, super disciplined, right? And focusing on having conversations with people about real estate. You know, we talk about prospecting, but prospecting can be reaching out to your sphere. Prospecting can be reaching out to your database. Prospecting can be actually meeting people at the coffee shop, right? Or in some sort of a like a meetup group or BNI group, right? So all a combination of prospecting, but every day you got to dedicate at least 2 hours a day in having conversations with people about real estate.
And you got to hold yourself accountable. You like you said, you only did one. Like I like what you said. I would pick one strategy.
Yep.
And it's either open houses or the expired FISBOs, whatever. You know, for 3 hours, you could call 300 people. That's a lot of people you could talk to. So I would challenge them: pick one strategy and commit to it for 90 days.
Yeah.
And hold yourself accountable. Do not quit before those 90 days. Right. Do not quit that strategy before 90 days. And I'd be surprised the traction, the momentum, the self-improvement that you learn about yourself during that time. It's all about traction and friction. It's like a fire, man. You gotta.
Well, it's all about momentum, right? So we teach you. We have a coaching program here internally called Momentum Builders, right? So it's really that. I mean, it's setting the vision, right? Setting your goals and targets, then scheduling, right? Putting together a schedule. Then taking action, right? And then, focusing on it every single day is consistency, right? So like, and that's something that's got to be done. Like, and again, if you do this consistently and you do this every single day, ideally, right? Things are going to start happening, right? You're going to get more confidence, right? You're going to get more comfortable, right? Your skills are going to evolve. And it becomes a momentum for you, a momentum builder. It's almost kind of like a snowball effect, right? It accumulates and gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And ultimately, you're going to see the results, right? We're all chasing results. We're always results. When we all kind of all like results driven, but at the end of the day, the results will come. We should not really focus on that. We should be really focusing on the steps it takes, the process that takes to really get to those results, right? And sometimes you're going to take a step forward, and some days you're going to take a step back, right? And that's how it works. That's how the cookie crumbles, right? That's how it is in growing a business, but you got to take those steps, right? Every single day, right? Consistency is important, right? And things are going to start happening. I think another thing is you got to surround yourself with winners. Like, we have a blessing of having the flexibility in real estate, but it's also a curse because it doesn't really give us a lot of times a structure. And we need a structure, right? And we also need, like I said, the surroundings have to be the right surroundings, right? That's why I'm so huge on having mentors, having coaches. I'm not saying coaches pay someone, but have somebody who's done some number of deals that's actually genuinely want to help you, right? Genuinely want to help you, right? And really guide you, but not only just guide you or mentor your coach you, but also hold you accountable, right? Accountability is one of my former coaches, likes to say, accountability is the highest form of love. Right. So we want to be held accountable. We want to do that, but it's hard sometimes for us to do it ourselves. So we need somebody else who can help us with that. But yeah, I mean, we're definitely on the same page with this.
I will say for your agents and for your team and your office, like, you guys need to understand the value and opportunity you have with the structure that Alan's, contributing. It's that it's Alan. I mean, you're like, if I had the platform you had 10 years ago, because like when I made the transition, brokers weren't really doing what you were doing. It was more of a, a boutique broker where you just came and hung your license. So I mean, the accessibility that you're giving people, you're investing time for their success, and so yeah, they need to take advantage of it, and they have everything, they have everything right in front of them. They just need to execute.
Yeah, man.
They just need to execute. And you're so true about mentors. Like my mentor, what he challenged with me, where I kind of had a huge spark in my productivity. And like what you said, you need somebody who's going to give you the truth and the tough love, because you're going to tell yourself what you want to hear, and your spouse or your brother or your sister or your friends, they're going to, oh, don't worry about it, man, you look good, don't worry about it, don't go do open houses, come watch the UFC fight, you don't need to do open houses, man. But when you have that coach that has love for you and has your best interest, my one coach said, Shawn, you are operating at 80% of your potential. Just imagine if you got to 90%. Just imagine if you got to 95%. Your 80% is better than most people. Just imagine the results and the people you could impact. Just imagine what you could create if you got to 90%. And that's really when I made the choice that I was going to be hard on myself. I was going to stop cruise controlling. I was going to. That's when I came up with the time, money, freedom. Like I don't do anything unless it does time, money, or freedom for me. That was me holding myself accountable. I made commitment to Shawn, and so that's why you do need a coach. And like Alan said, it might not be an indirect or a direct coach, but like the reason why Alan and I are connected, it's funny how life evolves. I met Alan through a webinar podcast that he did like 6 years ago. And that's how I got onto you, Alan, was you did a podcast about 6 years ago, and then you and I did a couple transactions together, and I'm like, this dude is awesome. And so I'm just thankful that I was able to add some value today.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's amazing, right? I mean, the fact that I've been following you for the last 6 years, and I mean, you're just scratching the surface, though. Like, so let's talk about your plans, right? So like, I'm intrigued. I want to know, where do you see yourself? Where do you see your business in the next, let's say, in the next 12 months, and then ultimately in the next 3 years?
So 12 months. Just from a productivity or just personal or?
Yeah, everything.
So productivity in 12 months, right now it's me, a transaction coordinator. I want to spread the sugar. So in 12 months, I want to have 2 buyer's agents. So one of my favorite movies is The Greatest Showman. I love that movie. And so I still want to be the showman, and I still want to be the listing magnet, I still want to be the brand and the attraction. But I want to spread the sugar, and I want to have 2 agents who are my buyer's agents, which that's going to leverage my personal time. That's a goal of mine as a family man. My kids are 2 and 6. And so this next decade is critical for my kids. And also I'm 41. This next decade is critical for me, for my financial goals. So I see that in the next 12 months. I have a goal of by the time I'm 45, so 4 years, I want to have $10,000 cash flow coming in each month from investments. And I'm actually closing on an investment in Ohio next week. It's going to be a rental property in Ohio. So, and so that's a business personal goal. In 5 years, I want to have 10,000 cash flow each month. Because then if I have that freedom, I'm going to be able to invest more time into my people, into my business. I'm going to be able to contribute more to my community. And then 5 years business wise, I want to sell my business. I want to sell my exit plan is in 5 years. I'm going to sell my team and my brand to somebody for 3 years. My goal is 3 years of GCI. And that's how you got to start thinking. You got to start thinking bigger. I would have never thought that 7 years ago, man.
Yeah, that's the thing. We're not, because we're like, a lot of times, again, it's we're being in the weeds, or we're constantly in the business versus kind of being on the business and really actually taking the time and really think about where do you see your business going. Like I shared this with you, like in 3 years, and I call it like 1,000 agents in 1,000 days. 1,000 days is like 3 years, right? So, that's where I see my brokerage heading in the next 3 years. I want to have at least 20 offices around the country. I want to have a mortgage and a title company in each office, right? And also have the coaching company that will actually mentor and coach 1,000 agents, right? Within our brokerage. I mean, so that's my vision in the next 1,000 days. So you got to have those visions. You got to have those big goals, right? And every day we're shooting for getting closer and closer and closer. But it doesn't have to be the 3 years from now. It can be as short as the next 90 days, right? Like with my agents, right? I sit down with my agents when they come on board, or even the agents that have been with me for a certain period of time. And we actually sit down and we map out their next 90 days. Like step by step. We're not even talking about a year from now or 2 years or 3 years from now, right? You can talk about those things. That's fine. That's cool. If you got that clarity, that vision, but we really want to focus on the next 90 days. What do we have to do, right? You as an agent and us as a brokerage, to really kind of move the needle forward, get your business off the ground, or take your business to the next level. What lead sources do we need to add? What systems do we need to add into your business? Do we need to maybe add a personnel, maybe a showing assistant, maybe an assistant or a transaction coordinator? Right? So we sit down and really kind of strategize the plan in a way where, honestly, I don't want them to work more. I actually want them to work less, but with the systems in place and technologies in place, right? And the personnel in place, they can make more money.
What agents need to realize is you're teaching them how to become a business. You're not teaching them how to become a real estate agent. And that,
I actually had that conversation this morning with the agent outside of my brokerage. I was like, look, my purpose is to really teach you how to become a business owner. Right? You can learn how to sling homes for a living, but that's not really, I think, what most of us want to do for the rest of our lives. We don't want to be in their 60s showing homes or holding open houses or getting listings, right? Unless we kind of enjoy doing that, right? So I really my goal with every agent in my company is I want to teach them how to operate a business, a true business that has multiple revenue streams.
And that's endless or infinite reward is let's say they don't become a good real estate agent. They know how to run a business. So what if they want to go become an entrepreneur in another industry? You've taught them what's important to run a business. And I love that you said the 1,000 days. When agents commit or do their goals, I don't think they do the math. For example, the 90 days. What if somebody committed to 90 open houses in 90 days? Ooh. So what I told myself, I'm 1,000 transactions away from being a millionaire. You need to start setting math goals that way. Because when I was putting those open house signs, I had the voice man, this sucks. But I had the I'm 1,000 families away from being a millionaire. And now you're going to reach 1,000 families. It's just up to you whether you want to do it in 3 years, 9 years, or 27 years.
Yeah.
That's up to you as an individual. And so I did the math and I was 1,000 families. I can do that in a decade. I can do 1,000 families in a decade. And you got to start holding yourself accountable with those type of scenarios.
And then I love you and I respect what you're saying, but I have to disagree with you, dude. I think you could do 1,000 families the next 3 years.
No, I know.
I mean, come on, so.
But hey, that was me 7 years ago.
Yeah,
I'm with you. I'm with you.
Yeah. All right, man. So let's it's already 12:17. So I appreciate your time. I value your time, dude. So before we wrap this up, any questions that I did not ask you that I should have asked you in the first place? Anything that I did not cover?
Back to mindset. This is something I learned. You're not starting a business, you are a business. Alan's a business, Shawn's a business, Bobby's a business. You got to start thinking you are the business. And when you understand you are the business, you are the Nike, you are the Amazon, you are the Home Depot, you are the Lowe's, you are the Golden Arches. You will get, I'm getting chills right now, man. You will start making different decisions when you understand you are the path. You are the way. You are the door. Like quit looking out here. It's right here in your face. You
are the brand.
Yes, you
are the brand. And our number one currency is our brand.
You attract every result in your life if you really sit down and hold yourself accountable. And whether it's personal, physical, spiritual, financial, like any category, if you really hold yourself accountable, it comes down to you. The other thing is you got to get smart with your money, and you really got to master money. You got to master money. We're not taught how to master money or time in education. A lot of us weren't taught it by our parents. We're taught, you got to master money. You got to master yourself, and you got to master money. Then you'll master time and freedom. We're not taught that. And so us as agents, when you get a paycheck, you got to hold yourself accountable to go. Everybody likes nice things, but don't go blow that money. Like if you really believe in your business, reinvest it in your business, whether it's coaching on yourself, whether it's, sending out 1,000 flyers, but invest it in something that's gonna build momentum or build compound interest. Don't go and, you can spend your money however you want, but don't go invest in a jet ski. That's not gonna do nothing. That's just the way I think. I think so many business owners, they make money, but then they don't know how to reinvest it, basically.
Well, treat it like a business. In every business, you're going to have operating expenses, you're going to have marketing expenses, you're going to have an overhead. Hopefully, you have a payroll. You pay taxes, right? I mean, that $10,000 commission check is not $10,000. It's not $10,000. There's going to be a portion for expenses. There's going to be a portion for your taxes.
You'll probably be taking home $4,000 if you're really running it like a business.
Correct. And you got to be mindful of that, right? Because again, there are going to be some months where you can make some good money, but if you're not reinvesting that money, if you're not being mindful and saving that money, okay, it's going to be hard. It's going to be tough financially, right? And we got to have these up and down cycles in our business because of that, right? We take the money, we spend the money, and then nothing is left next month. And we don't have any deals in escrow. So be smarter with your money. Invest your money.
And last thing, Alan, I see it happen so many. You either need a coach, whether it's Alan or somebody else. If you can't hold yourself accountable, you need a coach like Alan or somebody else to hold you accountable. You need to really be honest with yourself and make that choice. And even if you're somebody who, like me, I hold myself accountable. The reason why I rub shoulders with guys like Alan is because he's like a coach to me. I can learn from him. He can learn from me. But where I was going to one thing is I see so many people, they consume, but they never transfer the energy and take action. At some point, you got to take action, man. Alan and I can share golden nuggets 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
But until you make a choice to be you, like you can't be Alan, you can't be Shawn. Like take our golden nuggets and become you. Do it your way. At some point, you have to go do it your way.
Yeah.
And and so that's, if I could give somebody a spark or advice, like, it's good to take on content, but at some point you got to go swing the bat, man. You got to go swing the bat.
You gotta be on the court.
100%, man.
You got to be on the court. You cannot just constantly sit in the bleachers, right? So, like you said, so speaking of that, this is streaming live on Facebook. So if you like this, I'm actually offering a free, 90-day business planning session to the agents. Doesn't matter, my agents in my brokerage or outside of my brokerage. Just comment below or just DM me, and we'll set that up with you guys. Shawn, how can our viewers get in touch with you? Your email, your IG, and how can they get in touch with you?
Mainly Facebook. If you look up Shawn Camacho on Facebook, I always try to answer my instant messages. If you want to go to my website, it's called thesaviourequityteam.com. My cell phone is 602-740-8992, 602-740-8992. All that's on my Facebook page or my website. But yeah, if I can be a resource, reach out to me. I'm all about, paying it forward. And the 90-day coaching thing that Alan talked about, man, I would jump on that. I met with Alan for a couple hours, and I've known him over the years. Some of the knowledge he'll share with you, I've probably spent $50,000 on stuff that you'll probably learn in that 1 hour session. So it's priceless.
Yeah, man, I appreciate that. So if, let's say, you were to write a book 5 years from now, okay, what would be the title of that book? That's a tricky question. It's not a tricky question. It's just obviously something that,
Oh man, I smile because when I'm on the treadmill, sometimes I get those thoughts of like, what's a book I would write? And it's hard because I don't know if I'd write a book about, real estate or just, personal success. It would probably be in those two categories.
What would be the name of the book?
It'd probably be one of my taglines that you see back here.
Spread the sugar?
Spread the sugar, or passion always wins. I'm a big believer anything's possible, so that could be the tagline. I might go crazy and say we all have our own bullshit, but it matters what you turn it into, something like that. It might be a book like that.
I like that one.
It might be the Guru's 5 C's, the 5 C's to success.
Man, you got 3 books coming up, it looks like.
Conviction, compassion, courage, creativity. So you got me thinking again. You got me thinking. Maybe I'm gonna put that on my goals. I'm gonna have a book in the next 1 or 2 years.
Love it, man. And you know what? A lot of these authors, if you will, they use like ghostwriters nowadays. So like you give them like ideas and the things that you want, and they just write a really perfect book for you, man.
That's what's amazing with our times, man. That's what's amazing with our times.
Yeah, so writing a book is no big deal. I
might write a book about a little boy from Russia that was handing out flyers on New York Street. And
for $1.50 an hour. That was my first job.
That was your open houses, baby.
I was 13 years old, man, handing out flyers for $1.50 an hour. That's the money that I was making, man. At that time, $1.50 an hour. That was back in 1990. Man, $1.50 an hour. I felt like Jeff Bezos at that time, man. It was just like, man, that's a lot of money. But the point of that is the fact that you have to start somewhere.
Everybody starts somewhere, man.
You have to start somewhere.
Everybody starts somewhere. Why? Might as well be today.
Exactly. All right. Listen, brother, I appreciate you. Man. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for sharing, inspiring, man. You're a joy to know. You're a joy to know. Like as a person, as an individual, as a top producing agent. All the best to you and your business. If there's anything that I can do, always I'm here for you, man. Feel free to reach out. Okay.
Two-way street. And if any of your agents, by the way, Tristan's a class act. He's awesome. Him and I texted each other, and any of your agents, yeah, man, you guys are awesome. And I'm grateful to be in the same industry as other all-stars and people of mastering the craft like you guys are. So
I do. Listen, love your passion. God bless you and your family. All right. And we'll talk soon.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate you, man.